Hi there. Today is Careers Q&A Day, where Zoe and I give you some personal attention. So, a question from an HR leader. I work in the real estate investment environment in the HR space. I would love our managers to take ownership of career conversations, but they are definitely running scared. How can I get them to be up for talking to their people about their next steps? What a brilliant question, Hannah. Thank you. So, it's really normal for managers to be worried around career conversations. And I want to share with you a little bit about why that might be. The first thing is that when you say career conversations, people have a bubble pops into their head. And what they see is the question, where do you want to be in 5 years? And the other person saying, in your job or something like that, which feels kind of awkward, right? And both that question and that answer are tricky and actually not what we mean when we talk about a career conversation. The correct position for a career conversation is that the individual owns their career, the manager helps them nurture their capacity within that, and the organization enables the opportunities to be maximized. So the individual owns, you as the manager nurture, and the organization enables the possibilities. When we talk about a career conversation, it's really important, and a lot of our managerial work is about busting the myths about the things that managers get worried about. So they think, if I start this conversation, the only inevitability is going to be a request for a promotion or more money, neither of which I can necessarily facilitate. So I'm saying nothing. Or they say, I'm going to have to say yes in response to whatever they ask for, and that's just going to create a problem. And neither of those things are true. The individual owns their career. They want to have a discussion with you about where they might go and to understand where the possibilities might be. And it's your job to kind of nurture, be curious about that, and to see where there might be an opportunity to expand their projects, to invite them to take on some shadowing or some additional responsibilities that line up with where they want to go. A career conversation is actually an engagement tool. So the more that managers understand that engagement and retention comes from someone feeling like they're taking a personal and deep investment in understanding who you are and where you want to go, the more opportunity we have as a business to align, to keep that person, to help them to feel engaged and to support them in progression. It is not about you becoming an internal recruiter and solving all of their problems. Zoe, do you want to say a bit about how the conversation can be structured or flow in a way that might help a manager feel reassured about starting these kinds of conversations?
Yeah, of course. And I think the first thing is to take the pressure off yourself. It's not, you haven't got to have the answers, and to stay with a mindset of curiosity. Like, what can I find out about this person that I don't know? And so some of the easiest sort of no pressure questions from your point of view that we recommend you start with are things like, what does success look and feel like for you? Like, what would make your perfect working scenario here? Find out a little bit about what success looks like for them. Find out about what sort of experiences are you looking for next? What would you love to do? What would you love to experience? Really nice conversational questions that get them to open up. And I would also say, don't be afraid to share a little bit about your journey, because they don't necessarily also know about how you got to the role that you're in. And to show a bit of vulnerability in yourself will often help them to open up themselves, in my personal opinion and experience from the past.
Nice. And look, one of our sort of key elements in terms of the career equation is that there's already quite a heavy load on managers. Performance conversations, obviously the logistics of the day-to-day and delivering the KPIs and results. And adding career conversations to their load is a significant addition. And it's not just that they need to be able to have the conversation. They also need to be able to explain what it is and how your chosen framework works and what they're going to do with it, all of which is quite a lot. So our suggestion is always, in terms of the heavy lifting, to split the load, because managers also have their own career. And so when we work with organizations, we always, first of all, go, let's give everyone a general awareness level and a structure for the conversation, whether they are on the facilitating end or the receiving end of that conversation, that they should have had time to prepare ideally in a sort of structured, time set aside learning format for that conversation. So they know what the agenda is going to be. They know what the philosophy is. They've had time to reflect on their own questions about how do they define success? What experiences are they looking for out of work? How are things going? What do they want to do more of, less of, or whatever your structure is? And that makes it way, way easier for a manager to engage, because they know that the other person knows what to expect, where the boundaries and limits are about what might be possible. And they don't need to spend half of the session getting the person enrolled into having a career conversation and then giving them a whole bunch of questions that they've never had a chance to see before, perhaps have never been asked before. So, most organizations come to us asking, can you train our managers in how to have career conversations? And we absolutely do that. But what we're saying is, if you really want to support that manager to be successful, consider, first of all, an awareness raising level for everybody, so they know what your philosophy is, how it's going to work, what's expected in the conversation, and to give them chance to prepare. That's how you get excellence in that conversation. Just sticking it on a manager's head as another thing on the pile of hats that they've already got on their head is not what's going to facilitate success. So hopefully that's given you lots of practical tips, Hannah, to move forward with. And thank you for the question. If you'd like your question answered on the podcast, please send us an email or a voice note to pod@thecareerequation.com.